Before we begin proceedings, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Wurundjeri people and their nation. I would like to pay my respects to elders past, present and future, and pay my respects to all Aboriginal people here today, wherever you may come from.
Between what is hoped for and what can be, there's a bridge. Between the aspirations of a ball club and the greatest sports venue in America, there's a bridge. Between chaos and wonder, endangered and protected, there's a bridge. Built on technology that can solve, create, heal, inspire, and secure. A bridge. There from the beginning to where we stand today, and where we will go from here. One company, one promise. If you can imagine it, we will build the bridge to get you there. Cisco. The bridge to possible.
Please welcome to the stage your Cisco Live 2019 keynote host, Cisco's President Asia Pacific, Japan and China, Miyuki Suzuki.
Hello everybody. Konnichiwa. Ni hao. Annyeonghaseyo. Sawadee-ka. Welcome to Cisco Live Melbourne. And thank you to the over 8,000 people who are here today. And thank you to the thousands more watching our broadcast live in 14 countries. A warm welcome to Cisco Live Melbourne. We've got a great week ahead, and I couldn't be more happy and excited to be here. I'm thrilled, particularly, to be in Melbourne. I have a very, very strong fondness and affinity for this city because I did most of my primary school education here, living in North Balwyn, and going to the Sacré-Cœur in Glen Iris, for those of you who are from this city. Moving across the Tasman, I also had an opportunity to work in New Zealand in the 1980s for a couple of years. And you see me there trout fishing in the Tongariro River. For those of you from Kiwi land, you can tell this was in the 80s. You can tell this was in the 80s because I had big hair. And then more recently, before I joined Cisco, I was the CEO, the inaugural CEO of Jetstar Japan. And over there you see me with Jane Herdlicker, who used to be the CEO of Jetstar Group. And of course, Jetstar is headquartered in Melbourne. And I was also with Alan Joyce, the iconic CEO of Qantas. So many, many fond memories and ties to Australia and Melbourne and Down Under generally. At this stage, I want to thank all of our sponsors, but with a special call out to Cisco Live Diamond sponsor and official service provider partner, Optus. As with all businesses, to remain relevant in this age of disruption, we can only imagine what the future looks like. Today, Optus's business is looking at how they can help reimagine the future for enterprise.
Technology is transforming so fast. If you're not adapting, it can hold your business down. But we can set you free. Chapters believes in connecting business with digital solutions that reimagine what we're humanly capable of, unlocking possibilities that enable you to securely work without limits, harnessing technology that energizes and empowers us all, seamlessly making the complex simpler and the dull brighter. Digital collaboration for a reimagined tomorrow, giving you solutions that advance the agility, connectivity, and freedom of your business, just as it should be.
So I'm fascinated by discontinuity. And discontinuity is something that I've looked for throughout my career. You know, we all hear a lot about disruption today, and we can see how old norms and business models are being disrupted every day, mainly by technology. But if you peel that all back, what you see underneath is discontinuity. And discontinuity tends to be caused by a shift, a fundamental shift in people's values. So let me give you an example that we all know about. So Airbnb changed the face of hospitality and property rentals because of a change in our values. You know, we now allow strangers to sleep in our bed. Maybe less said about that, the better. But, you know, we have strangers eating in our kitchen, sitting on our chairs, using our utensils, and we're okay with that, you know, a little bit like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. But this discontinuity has created a disruption. There are now 2.2 million homes on Airbnb, with 90 million users in 34,000 cities. And Melbourne alone has 17,000 plus listings. You know, the world we live in doesn't move in a linear fashion. Humanity doesn't evolve in a linear fashion. And there's a step change occurring constantly in terms of people's view of the world and values. Companies, communities, and business models have to evolve to keep pace with these changes in our values. Think about it. Look at the music industry. It's evolved to offer freedom, personal choice, and differentiated value to consumers as it moved from personal devices to software-driven devices to streaming music services, changing the economics of creating and listening to music. So the philosophy of iTunes, which was all about having 1,000 songs in your pocket, like 1,000 songs in your heart, it appeals to the emotions and your feelings. Look at the car industry. There, the values are changing too. My generation, the baby boomers, we cared about owning a luxury car as a status symbol. Our children's generation, they don't want to own a car. They think it's really wasteful that it sits in a garage or a parking lot for 95% of the time. Think about it with autonomous vehicles coming along. Your car could be going out fetching the laundry or picking up paying passengers and earning money for you while you're sitting at work or sleeping at home. So people's values are changing today. It's all about the shared economy and optimizing assets and on-demand experiences. The way we commute, we consume entertainment, interact, transact, the way we live, work, learn, and play is changing rapidly. I know this discontinuity can be daunting and unnerving, but I get really excited. I see it as an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity for us to move forward, to create something new, reimagine our communities, and create grassroots innovations, and change our organizations. People often ask me, what's my greatest attribute or skill as a leader? And I always reply, it's the fact that I know that I'm usually not the smartest person in the room. But I know how to recognize smart people. I know how to play to their strengths and bring them together so that their collective creativity and imagination can be harnessed to come up with really great outcomes and perhaps surprising solutions to problems. I sincerely believe in harnessing the strength of the people so that they can unleash their imaginations to solve the world's problems with their conviction to achieve. Each of you sitting here has great ideas. You have your imagination. That imagination will help you take advantage of the discontinuities in the world. Our imagination will drive disruption and create opportunity. Let me show you what two young men in Australia have done with their imagination.
It all started simply enough. Two 20-year-old friends were driving around their hometown of Brisbane, Australia. They saw a problem, and they wanted to help.
We had a really simple idea, which we thought had potential, but we had no idea how big it would really become.
Orange Sky Laundry was born. The idea? To build the world's first mobile laundry service for the homeless. If they could bring hot showers and a laundry service to the people, it could change lives. But how?
Our first challenge was to transform a standard van into a functional mobile laundry. We engineered it from scratch, and after months of hard work, our first van, Sudsy, was born.
The Orange Sky family was growing, and fast. Their goal was to service every corner of Australia. But in order to do that, one van in Brisbane would need to become 30 vans across the country. To achieve this goal, they would need help.
The only way we could continue to grow sustainably was through technology. Partnering with Cisco has been a crucial component in helping us to provide for people experiencing homelessness.
That was when Nick and Lucas realised something wonderful. Orange Sky were providing so much more than washing and drying clothes. They were connecting people.
There were people just out there in our own backyard that hadn't spoken to another soul for a day, a week, or even a month. The feeling of connection, a sense of being heard, of community, this all happened through a simple conversation on a shift. It kept our friends coming back. Cisco believes in our vision and supports us with our goal to expand globally.
We've helped a lot of people, but there is still so much work to do. This is only the beginning.
Between clean clothes and creating a community, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
Isn't that wonderful? Respect to them. I'm excited that we are the architects of possibility. In a world of discontinuity, we're looking for the possible. We at Cisco are the builders of your bridge to possible. If you can imagine it, we'll build the bridge to get you there. Let me give you an example which comes from India. Reliance Jio had a vision of the possible. They wanted to digitally transform the lives of 1.3 billion people in India by building India's first 4G all-IP network that spans 99% of the population. Cisco and Reliance Jio did this together in just 3 years, and now they have 280 million subscribers, 100 million of which they acquired within the first 6 months of operation. Only Facebook had that rate of growth. The vision was access for everyone, and India went from being the 155th global rank in terms of data usage in the world to number 1. That's the bridge to possible. Last week at Mobile World Congress, we were very honored to be able to announce a similar partnership with Rakuten in Japan, with whom we're building the world's first virtualized cloud-based mobile network. So with Reliance Jio, Cisco partnered to bring connectivity to one of the largest populations in the world. But now let's fly to Japan, my home country. I want to go to one of the most traditional cities in the world, Kyoto. Many of you probably know Kyoto as the ancient capital of Japan, but let's just take a look at how Kyoto is becoming even smarter in the way it's supporting its people and its visitors.
As in so many cities, for Kyoto, tourism is a very big deal. But tourism means people. And with so many of them, the city had its hands full. Kyoto didn't just have to get better at managing them all. It had to get smarter. And with Cisco's help, that's exactly what happened. Strategically located smart kiosks now connect tourists with a concierge who can steer them to less congested attractions. So crowds are more evenly distributed. Smart street lighting monitors foot traffic, automatically controls brightness when and where it's needed most, and pinpoints outages in real time, so repairs can be made faster. And with special terminals monitoring multiple cameras, data can be compared simultaneously, making the city safer than ever before. As for the people of Kyoto and the millions of tourists who visit every year, they have just one thing to say about their new smart city. We can't wait to see what's next. Between ancient and smart, there's a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
So the city of Kyoto is like a microcosm of modernity, tradition, and uniqueness. Kyoto is transforming and embracing technology to modernize and change. And this requires real courage. It's through this courage that best outcomes emerge. So all the stories that we shared with you have one thing in common: the courage to be different, to make anything possible. I always say, be comfortable being different, because I believe that when you're comfortable being different, you're comfortable when that discontinuity arrives. You see it early, and you take advantage of it, and you can create a new possible for our world, for your world. So be comfortable being different. You know, as you saw from the photos of my childhood, I was quite often the only Asian child in a sea of fair-haired cherubs. In Japan, more recently, I'm quite often the only female executive in a room full of male executives. But difference is good. It's the essence of diversity. And diversity is what powers innovation. So be comfortable being different and turn discontinuity into an opportunity. I want to now tell you about a program that we're launching today for all of you. It's called the Gateway Program. It's an opportunity for you to be different. It's not you as part of an organization, but you as an individual. It's a very fun and engaging and gamified platform where you can connect with your peers, share your experiences, and grow your personal brand. So please visit the Gateway in the world of solutions, sign up, and start your advocacy journey with us. We'd love to have you there, and there are also some great prizes and experiences on offer. So thank you for joining us today. With that, let me welcome onto the stage our next presenter, my former boss, a true Singaporean at heart, a big fan of Manchester United, and Star Wars. He's got a collection of Darth Vader helmets sitting in his office. Irving Tan.
So much. Thank you, Miyuki. It's great to be here with all of you. I'm a bit more linguistically challenged than Miyuki is, so I just want to say thank you. Thank you not only for joining us today, but for your commitment and partnership with us over the years. Together, we've built the internet, we've enabled e-commerce, we've transformed communities, businesses, countries. And you saw many examples of those in the videos that Miyuki has showed you. But when we talk about the bridge between hope and possible, I think we are just getting started. The power of digitization and the technology underpinning it we're just at the initial innings of it. There's so much more that we can achieve together, and our hope is that we continue to earn your trust and faith to be able to partner with you as we move forward in that. The world that we live in today is well and truly digital. We live in a hyper-connected world where half of the population of the planet is online. And that pace is only going to accelerate. And that's borne out by the fact that if you look at how much investment in venture capital has been going into digital technologies, it shows you where the money is going, it shows you where the innovation is going to happen. Last year, in 2018, venture capital investment into digital technologies were up 21% around the world to a whopping $207 billion. And Asia is not being left behind in that. Although slightly slower, that investment within the Asia-Pacific region was also up 11%. So if anything, with all that money going in, with all that focus, we are going to see that pace of innovation and digitization and transformation just accelerate even more. But digitization is well beyond just taking manual processes and just automating it. To me, it's really about twofold. How does it enable all of us to truly deliver different experiences to our customers, to our employees? How does it enable us to disrupt or transform our own business models? In fact, we're living a lot of that disruption and transformation and experiences today. If you look at how artificial intelligence and machine learning have come together to deliver voice-enabled smart assistants. What was once in the realm of science fiction, I still remember my childhood days loving to watch science fiction movies and remember talking to HAL, that creepy computer that would talk back to you. That's in our living room today. In fact, we have 100 million homes on the planet today that either have devices that are enabled by Siri, Alexa, or Google Assistant, that enables you to access information just using natural language or doing as simple things as reordering your groceries. And those smart assistants are only going to accelerate. In fact, they are projected to grow 200% year on year. Many of you are also using artificial intelligence and machine learning to deliver differentiated experiences to your customers. I'm sure many of you who have chatbots on your web pages that are engaging with your customers as they come to search information, but giving them a much more personalized experience along the way. Again, we're just beginning to scratch the surface of what's possible with AI and ML. We're also seeing the disruptive power of digitization in terms of business models. If you look at how social, mobile, cloud have come together. A great example is what's happening in China. If you look at WeChat, many of you would think of them as a social media platform, a bit like Facebook, that many of people in the Western world use. But in China, WeChat is not only one of the largest social media platforms, it's also one of the largest purely digital banks on the planet. It is completely digital, is disrupting a very well-established institution, financial services payments. In fact, the WeChat platform supports 1 billion monthly users. It processes more transactions than the entire amounts of credit cards and debit cards in the whole of China. And I experienced that firsthand. In fact, a few months ago, I happened to be in China with Miyuki and a few other of our colleagues, and we took a short break from our meeting and we went down for lunch to a restaurant in the bottom of our building. And after having a very nice Japanese lunch, I might add, we wanted to pay. And keeping in company policy, having to be the most senior person at the table, I whipped out my corporate American Express card, and the waitress said, "We don't take American Express." And then between us, we went on a succession of Visa, Master, Union Pay, all to be rebuffed each and every time, saying, "We don't take that." And she said, "We only take Alipay and WeChat." So we actually had to call back to the office to get someone to come down with their phone so we could tap and pay. And all the while, while that was happening, the waitress stood very attentively in front of our table, ensuring that we didn't run off without paying. But it shows you how even traditional industries, like the payment industry, is being disrupted and transformed, and the scale and the speed of which it's happening. That disruption and speed is only going to get even faster. We have two changes that are going to happen on the horizon. The introduction of pervasive 5G networks and a new Wi-Fi standard called Wi-Fi 6. Together, they will provide unprecedented low latency and bandwidth capabilities, open up unprecedented possibilities. Asia is very much leading the way. If you look at 5G deployments, once again, the Koreans and the Japanese will be at the forefront of its implementation. Samsung, with the upcoming Galaxy 10 device, will be the first one to support Wi-Fi 6. But the possibilities of what these two technologies coming together will enable is really quite significant, because it moves connectivity and digital transformation beyond humans and devices into the realm of machine to machine. It will bring the dream of driverless vehicles to life, where vehicles are able to communicate to not only each other, but more importantly, to traffic infrastructure around them to deliver on the promise of autonomous vehicles. It has the possibility to transform healthcare, delivering remote surgery through the use of robotics, better able to train surgeons by using virtual reality and haptic feedback technology so they can practice surgery in a virtual environment in the past where you had to use cadavers to actually learn how to be a surgeon. Even in industries that are, you could say, more traditional, one that's very near and dear to many of the Australians in this room, agriculture, drones, sensor technologies are going to help farmers better manage their fields, drive better yields from their crops. And at Cisco, we're very committed to making sure this combination of 5G and Wi-Fi 6 together will not only deliver unprecedented opportunity, but also the right economics for it to be able to reach large-scale implementation as well. So I've talked a lot about the good stuff, huge amounts of possibilities that will be unleashed. But with that, we also need to be mindful. We're fundamentally exponentially increasing the attack surface for undesirable actors who may want to take advantage of things. It exposes us to more threats, data breaches, issues like ransomware and malware. We need to be very mindful of these things as we take advantage of the potential and possibilities of digitization. We need to do that safely and securely. And if you think you live in different parts of the world, you're safe, well, unfortunately, security threats are truly global. In a recent study we commissioned across the Asia-Pacific region, which involved 11 countries, what we found is that the average Asia-Pac enterprise has to deal with 10,000 threats daily. of which most organizations have said they're only equipped to handle and investigate 50% of those threats. It also requires us to have a different mindset towards security, away from just pure prevention to rapid detection and equally remediation. It means that in everything that we do, security has to be applied everywhere. It's foundational. It has to be built into your entire digitization framework. It goes beyond technology. It's about processes, policy, education, automation, and awareness. Being cyber safe is not the responsibility just of the audit committee of a company, of a CISO function, of IT. Every single employee of the company needs to be educated and aware of the role that they have to play in keeping an organization and their customers cyber safe. We cannot also shirk away from the path of digitization because of the concerns around security. The winners in this new world are going to be organizations that understand how to manage the security threat and at the same time leverage the power of digitization to truly move ahead and gain competitive advantage against their peers. So you have probably heard from the examples I gave you that we're living in a world where digital transformation is foundational. It has to be woven into the fabric of everything that we do in our business. It's not just about IT. It has to happen in sales. It has to happen in the services that you provide. It has to happen in the core operations of your businesses as well. And organizations around the world have clearly seen this. In fact, in a recent IDC survey, they predict that by the year 2020, just 1 year away, 30% of the global 2,000 enterprises have indicated they're going to spend 10% of their revenue into capital projects, specifically around digital transformation. That is a significant amount of money. And so you clearly see that organizations see the power of what's possible and their ability to actually leap ahead of their competition. And Asia is very much ready as well. Again, a recent digital readiness study that Cisco did across Asia Pacific found that 92% of the companies that participated in that study said they had digital strategies. And 88% of them said that they were the right strategies to be able to help them deliver on the business outcomes that they wanted. But there was one common theme, both that came out from the survey and in my past experience as the leader of the Asia Pacific Japan region, when I engaged with many of you, our customers, that there was an ask in there. We have the right strategy. We're confident that it's going to deliver the right outcome, but we need help on how we go about doing it. And that's where we're here to help partner with you to really implement, execute, and realize the potential of what digital transformation can do for you. We've actually started on that journey together. Over the last few years, we've been helping you build a foundation for your digital business, starting with how you take advantage of the power of the multi-cloud, the ability to take advantage of cloud economics, to safely be able to move services, workloads across public, private, and hybrid environments with the right analytics, orchestration, and automation as well. We've also helped you reinvent your networks, starting with the campus. Not only delivering state-of-the-art hardware capability, but also software capability that gives you a lot more visibility into your environment, a lot more security capability, and equally important, a lot more automation, so that your infrastructure, which used to be sort of the limiting factor in terms of how fast your business could respond and be agile, is now part of an enabler of the speed and agility at which you need to drive your business. We've also been helping you unleash the power of data. In fact, one of the primary mechanisms that almost every single organization that's probably represented in this room interacts with your customers or partners are through the applications that you provide to them. Take the airline industry. What is the primary means and first point of contact that all of us have with our airline partners? It's the app on our phone. And making sure those apps are performing to the level of satisfaction to our customers is what we've been helping you do through our applications performance capability that we deliver through Applications Dynamics. We've also helped you make your organizations much more safe and secure, enabling identity-based services through our Identity Service Engine capability. And lastly, driving greater network segmentation and security and assurance through DNA Center. I also talked about security needing to be foundational. It also requires, we've been helping you change the mindset around security, where it used to be, let's build a moat around a data center, to recognizing that we have to not only protect the data center, the campus, but increasingly, as the nature of how enterprise change, and as you take advantage of the cloud, leveraging more and more SaaS capabilities, we also need to figure out and work with you how we protect you in the cloud. But also, how do we protect you and your employees from their devices as well? So we've put together, and in many cases have already implemented with you, holistic security architectures that go on-prem to the cloud, down to the end device. And if you bring these four things together that I spoke about, what do they end up helping us create? Really meaningful experiences that gives you differentiation in your business versus your competitors. That was the foundation. Where are we heading next, and how would we like to partner with you going forward? It's really around bringing those discrete elements together to create a multi-domain architecture. An architecture that securely delivers to any user, across any device, across any network, applications and data that they need on demand. This is where the true power of digital transformation is going to happen, to remove all the bottlenecks that you see within your environment. We've been enabling that with accelerating the pace of change. We started a few years ago by revamping our entire campus portfolio with the introduction of the Catalyst 9000 range. It wasn't just about hardware. The real transformation was how we were going to deliver ongoing innovation to you, our customers, through the ongoing delivery of software. Not only in terms of innovation, but in terms of orchestration and automation capability. Built into that launch was also a much higher degree of security. The majority of traffic that traverses your enterprise network is encrypted. And one of the hardest things to ascertain is whether there is malware within encrypted traffic. We also introduced encrypted traffic analytics, our ability to understand whether there is malware within encrypted traffic at wire speed without any decryption. We then went on to recognize that many organizations want to take advantage of the economics of the cloud, of some of the software development toolkits that are made available. And so we've partnered with organizations like AWS and Google Cloud to deliver both an on-prem and cloud experience through containers based on Kubernetes. Some of you in the audience represent service providers. The service provider networks themselves have changed significantly. If you look at the amount of network features today that have been virtualized, the service provider architecture has fundamentally transformed. Where you had central offices with large routers and switches, today, those routing and switching functions have become virtualized. They are running in data centers. The future of a service provider network is really a data center, running a host of virtualized network features. So that ability to manage networks, data center, securely in a truly automated fashion is what we've been also working on. And with the introduction of our crosswork automation platform, we're helping many service providers manage across these three areas. And most recently, we also introduced our new software-defined wide area networking capability. As I mentioned, the whole nature of traffic flows within your organization is changing significantly. Where in the past, all the net traffic in the branch had to go back to your data center before it went out to the public internet. Today, as you consume more and more SaaS applications, in many cases, the traffic from the branch is going straight to the public internet. So it requires a fundamental rethink of your routing architecture and how you go about securing the branch, not just the data center and the campus. And if you thought that we were stopping there, we're just accelerating our innovation. Most recently at Cisco Live in Barcelona, just a few weeks ago, we launched a whole new series of data center solutions, bringing our application-centric infrastructure and Hyperflex to the cloud, enabling it anywhere. We introduced a new line of our IoT products, both in terms of our switching capability and our integrated services router. And one thing that we're very proud of is introducing a new range of 400 gig Ethernet switches. These new switches provide unparalleled levels of security, automation, visibility, analytics, and assurance. For those of you who are more interested in getting deeper into these new launches, I would strongly encourage you to join us tomorrow for the technical keynote. I've talked a lot about technology. I've talked a bit about digitization. But all of that's kind of meaningless if, at the end of the day, it doesn't transform your business. And I'm sure that's what's on a lot of your minds. We're spending a lot of money in these things. Are we reaping the benefits of it? And I wanted to take a moment to share with you Cisco's own journey in terms of what we've done. So if you go back 4 years ago, you had seen that many an article or analyst wrote a bit about the demise of Cisco. You would have seen articles that said, well, the cloud, white box, software-defined, subscription services, all these things mean the end of Cisco. In fact, rather than treating these as threats, we've really embraced them as significant opportunities for us. It fundamentally challenged us to rethink our whole strategy. So today, in everything that we do, we lead with software-defined. Rather than avoiding virtualization, we probably have the largest portfolio of network features that have been virtualized. That also enables programmability to deliver a high degree of automation and orchestration that helps every one of us reduce our operating costs. We also felt that our core advantage was not just about building good software, but we have a great heritage in building great hardware as well, especially ASIC. And we wanted to make sure that combination of hardware and software would enable you to deliver investment protection to you and your shareholders as well. And that the hardware that we provided you would be able to support this ongoing software innovation and capability that we were going to deliver to you. But the biggest change that we had to go through was pivoting our business model. This whole shift to software, this whole shift towards subscription services, meant that we almost had to operate in a bimodal world. We still had a very large, highly profitable hardware systems business. At the same time, through a series of acquisitions and organic development, we were also building a very fast-growing software-as-a-service software business. And those two have somewhat diametrically different requirements. How were we going to deal with this? It fundamentally challenged us to rethink about how we innovated, how we needed to retool our business and the underlying business architecture, and how do we need to replumb the entire digital architecture of the company to be able to support this transition. But before we went ahead and invested a lot of money, we took a step back. Because we also heard from all of you, our customers, saying, well, we've invested a lot of money in digitization. Sometimes we're not really clear what we're trying to get out of it. I hear very often and say, well, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll experiment, we'll learn. But we wanted to be very mindful as we went on this journey because we were sort of betting the company on it. What do we need to do? How do we need to measure the outcomes that we wanted to achieve in terms of how we were going to transform our business and transform our digital architecture that enabled it? We really focused around 4 key pillars. The first was on financial. Whatever we did, what was the financial return going to be, both in terms of helping us grow our top line, improve our profitability, and for those of you in the finance sides of the house, how do we free up more cash? How do we be more efficient in the use of our cash? Second, how do we keep Cisco secure? How do we manage risks, ensure regulatory compliance, and also address one of the hottest topics today, how do we deal with data protection? Thirdly, and probably most importantly, how are we enabling and accelerating this business model evolution? Managing a much more agile, much more innovative hardware system business, but also accelerating a very fast-growing SaaS business where changes are done on a global scale, very agile, almost overnight. And at the same time, how do we deliver transformative experiences to our customers, partners, and employees? So with those 4 clear objectives in mind in terms of what the outcomes that we wanted to measure, we set about. But we recognized that the first thing that we needed to do was not about technology. It was about how do we change the culture of the company and the mindset of our teams from being one that was very functionally organized, thought of their roles in silos, and operated in waterfall project fashion, to one in which we broke silos, operated much more horizontally, in a much more agile manner, and also be able to leverage the global nature of Cisco and the diversity of our employee base. So one of the first things we did was to say, how do we create a highly collaborative environment that removed all those barriers, both the physical, the virtual, took advantage of the fact that we actually had 5 generations within the workforce to really deliver a really flexible, collaborative environment for our employees. What we did was to bring some of our collaboration technologies together, like WebEx, like telepresence, like WebEx Teams. We then integrated that into some of our partners' productivity tools to make it all work seamlessly. And then we put it out there. And it wasn't about the technology. In fact, our goal was to ensure that the technology was not even a point of conversation. It was totally transparent to the organization so that it just worked seamlessly. It just became a way of life to all our employees. And I would say we've been successful. If you look at the launch that we had of the Catalyst 9300 portfolio, the first in our new enterprise switching range, that really challenged the company to think horizontally. Because that was the first launch of a product where the business model pivot happened, where a lot of the innovation that we were going to deliver, a lot of the value capture that we wanted to achieve was going to happen through software and not how we traditionally sold stuff through our hardware platforms. And I would say that we're accelerating our capability and the learnings that we've had. But we're not alone. I know many of you in the audience are beginning to see the need to transform cultures, to transform mindsets in this new world of digitalization. A great example of a company that's done that is one of your own here in Australia. It's Woodside Energy. Let's take a look at what they're doing.
The simplest of things can begin with the most complex of projects. And the most complex of projects can require the simplest of things: communication. How do you connect some of the most remote operations in the world with a head office in the world's most remote major city?
We're great at operating in remote locations. Woodside is the pioneer of the LNG industry in Australia. We operate 6% of global supply. But how do we bring it together? How do we not only operate remotely, but remotely operate some of the most complex projects on the planet? Cisco offered us a way of connecting our people and partners, wherever they are, in ways that will change our future. Make us more collaborative, productive, make work more enjoyable and safer. For the millions who rely on us for safe, reliable and clean energy, they need us to be our best. And that's why we've taken on this challenge. Our vision is simple and our operation is complex. When it comes down to it, the most important part is seemingly the simplest: great communication.
From energy to the power of connection, there is a bridge. Cisco, the bridge to possible.
Please welcome me in joining on stage Sean Gregory, EVP, Exploration and Chief Technology Officer, Woodside Energy. Sean, thank you for joining us.
Irving, good morning.
Great to have you here.
Thanks for inviting me.
You've got a very interesting title. EVP, Exploration and Chief Technology Officer.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about what you do.
So we're an energy company. The exploration part is finding oil and gas and figuring out how to get it out of the ground to our suppliers. And then the chief technology, of course, is in charge of all geeks in the organization.
That's kind of an interesting combination.
Yeah.
Finding oil, leveraging technology. In fact, you and I share something in common is we spoke about 2.5 years ago when we first met.
Yeah.
I started out my career in the energy sector as well, having started in the ExxonMobil corporation. And knowing a bit about the energy sector, those are very traditional, well-established organizations. What we just saw in the video was something very transformative about changing the entire culture and mindset of an organization to achieve certain goals. What was Woodside and the leadership team thinking when you set about this project?
Yeah, you're right. Oil and gas is a very traditional, some would say the dinosaur industry, and we recognize that.
Somewhat literally, right? Based on the dinosaur.
Yeah, literally. It's 65 million years ago is where most of oil and gas comes from. But you're right. We recognized that about 7 years ago when we began our own cultural journey on we needed to change the people, the values, the purpose, and the why. We started our digital transformation journey about 5 years ago, and that kind of culminated with a new building. We met 2.5 years ago because we're around the world trying to find out what is going to be the best, who has similar values to us, the same view on technology going forward to us that we would partner with. And it was that combination of culture first, digital, and then finally implementation.
Yep. And our partnership goes well beyond just actually helping you with technology, right? We also had a very kindred view on how we would co-innovate together.
Yeah, it was, in charge of technology now for, 7 years. We used to be all in the back room. As you know from Exxon days,
Yes.
It was the big technology projects. You don't speak about them, you keep them hidden. I really changed that to an open approach. Publish your problems. Work with others, openly collaborate, and Cisco was part of that journey. And we've got a joint innovation center at a local university. Curtin University is here in the audience today, and that was where our partnership first started.
Yep. And so it's not only about delivering capability here and now, it's also about co-innovating for the future. And I was recently with you in Perth just, 2 weeks ago, where we saw some of the partnerships that you also have with NASA in terms of using of robotics to actually operate in some of pretty harsh environments where maybe you wouldn't want some of your employees to go.
Yeah, you saw in some of the video, a lot of our facilities are a long way offshore, measured in hundreds of kilometers in hostile areas. And so, part of that open collaboration is with some interesting companies or government institutions, and NASA looked to us as well and as a place to test their remote capabilities before they go even further remote into space and beyond. Cisco's core to that because at the edge of your network, for us, is 200 kilometers offshore. There is a lot of challenges of how you get the modern bandwidth that we enjoy today here in Melbourne in an offshore oil and gas facility, or dare you say at the moon or Mars.
So we're glad that you're actually pushing us and challenging us to deliver the experience you have in your campus all the way to your production platforms as well. I talked a bit about, digitization beyond being just technology or the potential. It has to translate into actual business outcomes at the end of the day. What is the impact that you're seeing in terms of the investment that Woodside has made?
Yeah, we track it just like you do. Yeah. I think it's very important that you don't do technology for technology's sake. That's a science project. It does have to have a business impact, or if it's for government, an impact on the people. Yeah. So we track all of those metrics. I think really when you get down to it, though, it's the impact on the people. And, you know, you see there in some of the video footage that today you walk by in any of our meeting rooms and, you know, you'll see orange shirts. Orange shirt is someone in the field, video presence in. That was not in the old office. And so that to me is, you know, you're seeing collaboration that is genuine, it's not forced, it's just available. I think the second one is that it just works. I think that was our goal at Woodside, was make IT just work. Because everyone would groan when they said, oh, let's have a video conference. You know, just this moan and everybody would lose time. And today,
I remember those days.
Yeah, yeah.
192.16.10.
And then you're waiting at that. Can you hear me? No. And whereas today, it's just push button, join the meeting, and it just starts. And, you know, I shared with you yesterday, even for myself, you know, last week, we had an executive meeting scheduled, and I couldn't make it. I was sick, and they were going to reschedule in a week's time. And that would have created a week's delay in a decision that was needed. Instead, we just invited WebEx to the meeting. I joined remotely. The meeting happened. And so there was no delay. And I think it's those small things replicated amongst the entire workforce that has the biggest business impact, even when an executive can move at digital pace, right?
I couldn't agree more. I love the term you use. You guys are not executing at digital time.
Yeah, that's right.
Not executive time.
Yeah, that's it.
Which I know I have to deal with at times as well. Well, Sean, thank you very much for joining us. We're so happy to be a partner of yours, and we're looking forward to doing even more together.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you. So as we went about as a company, changing mindsets, changing our culture, we also in parallel started to build out the digital architecture that would support Cisco's transformation. But it was built on the understanding of what the business model evolution was going to be. What was the business architecture that we needed to support that? Only then did we go out designing the digital and data architecture that would have to underpin that. So let me give you a view of what our digital architecture looks like. It's got 5 key pillars to it. First, our infrastructure. That includes both our cloud and our campus infrastructure. What do we do in cloud? The first thing we did was we put a stick in the ground to say that everything that we did was going to be cloud first. And so we consolidated a massive amount of data centers and moved and developed our own large private cloud capability. But we also recognize that there were a lot of economic benefits, speed and agility benefits that the public cloud offered our employees as well. So rather than stopping their utilization, or they were doing it on the sly with their credit cards, we embraced it. Through the e-store, which is a portal of which every Cisco employee can access all the IT assets, we also make available for our employees to procure capability from AWS, from Google, and we're going to extend that to the Azure cloud as well. We wanted to fundamentally transform the nature of our routing architecture because we wanted to take advantage of the significant capabilities of SaaS. I'll touch on that in a minute when I cover applications. So we've been rapidly and aggressively revamping the layout of all our branches towards a software-defined wide area network. And then within each of our campus facilities, we also drove a much higher degree of automation and security capability through our digital network architecture capability. We then layered on, both in the data center, through our application-centric infrastructure, and in the campus, through our digital network architecture, a high degree of automation and orchestration. The net result of this, we were able to reduce our data center footprint by 33% and drive a 25% reduction in our operating costs. So that was the foundation of what we did, getting our infrastructure sorted. The second was around how we would transform our application environment. And again, just like we did, we put a stick in the ground. We said every new application that we were going to deploy had to be cloud native. And that's the transformation that we've been on. So every time we retire an application and we introduce a new one, it takes advantage of the infrastructure that we put in. It's truly cloud native. But we also wanted to take advantage of the tremendous speed of innovation and best practices that many of the commercial SaaS providers out there were delivering. So we also embrace that. And today, within our environment, we have over 300 SaaS providers, providing different levels of services and capabilities to our employees. Next, we wanted to make sure that with this new application and infrastructure, we were also delivering the right performance to the business. And that's where analytics came into play. For all our critical infrastructure and applications, we use a range of Cisco technologies, in particular, things like application dynamics, to really improve the performance and experience of those applications. So for all Priority 1 and Priority 2 applications on our primary website, cisco.com, we've applied application dynamics. The result of that, we've seen a 40% improvement in terms of performance. We've had an 80% reduction in mean time to detection of operational issues that can affect the experience of any one of you coming to cisco.com, and we've been able to achieve 4 nines uptime. Next, we looked at data. As we were pivoting to become a much more software-driven company, we also wanted to get better in terms of how we made decisions through the use of data. And through the use of data, not in terms of our organizational silos as well, but how do we expose data across the company to be able to get us to a single source of truth, to be able to analyze from a systems standpoint the right decision for the entire company and not for an individual group. So we developed an analytics, we developed an integrated data platform that exposed all the information within the company, gave us that single source of truth. On top of that, we then built an analytics workbench that we enabled and empowered data scientists across all the different functions within Cisco to leverage the power of that data, to derive insights so that they could take action within their respective realms. And finally, to wrap it all around, we had to build a very robust and highly automated security architecture. That involved using some of our next-gen firewalls, StealthWatch, advanced malware protection capabilities on-prem. And as we moved on more and more of our workloads to the cloud, looking at how we would protect ourselves through the use of Cisco Umbrella and our devices as well, most recently through the acquisition of Duo. But it's not only about the technology, as I mentioned. You saw the stats earlier in Asia, 10,000 threats, only 50% investigated. We also introduced a high degree of automation and use machine learning to drive security correlations as well. This combination of factors enable us to actually reduce our operating overhead by up to 20 man-hours per week, and at the same time, better securing the company as well. And we've done all this keeping in mind what are the benefits that we want to deliver to our different stakeholder groups, our customers, our partners, and our employees. So talking about a digital architecture is great, but what does it actually mean to the business? What impact has it really had to us? So let me give you an example of how we've brought that digital architecture to life and translated that to business benefit to Cisco. A good example is how we've used it within our own supply chain. We run a very global supply chain. We operate across 4 continents in 27 different locations, and every day we ship out to many of you over 200,000 items. We've used that digital architecture to enable us to get better visibility of our supply chain, orchestrate data globally, help us manage and track materials, track orders, manage quality and logistics as well. We never really planned for it, but actually something happened in 2017 that really brought to bear and brought to life the benefit of the investment that we made in our secure digital architecture. Some of you remember 2 years ago that in Houston, Texas, we had one of the largest hurricanes ever in history that hit. And as a result of that, big parts of Houston were underwater for close to 7 days. Unfortunately, we had one of our largest manufacturing facilities in the Americas and also one of our largest warehouses that was located in Houston. So for 7 days, we had no access to those facilities. In the meantime, we already had 4,000 customer orders on the factory floor in different stages of production, and we were continuing to get new orders to the point that we had another 20,000 in our backlog. But through the use of our digital architecture, and in particular, 2 core digital platforms that we had within supply chain. One called our Supplier Cloud, which gave us visibility of all the components from the suppliers that we use, where they were exactly located, anywhere in the world, or where they were in Houston, plus our Universal Order Visibility Cloud. We were able to create a digital twin of a physical supply chain. And when we were then able to access our facilities 7 days later, we were very quickly able to recover, not only addressing the existing orders that we had in process, but also address the backlog that we had that was continuing to build up. The net benefit of it, we had no financial impact within that financial quarter as a result of the shutdown. One of our peer group companies, who actually had almost identical facilities to us, who were building very similar products just down the road from us, had to call out a $93 million revenue shortfall as a result of that. So it shows you the power of digital technology and what it can do for you from a business context. But we're just getting started. Learning from that, we're actually doubling down. One of the things that I know that is near and dear to many of you is quality. How are we delivering better quality products to you? So what we're doing, again, is leveraging that digital technology to build in quality into our products much earlier in the process. Traditionally, what we would do is when you have a manufacturing production line, there would be different stages. At the end of it, we would test for quality. And that's a bit too late sometimes. You want to be able to catch quality much further upstream. So what do? Firstly, we connected our production line, every piece of equipment on our production lines, using our network layer, consisting of our network technologies and also our IoT products. So we were then able to absorb tremendous amounts of data for every piece of process technology within a production line. We then used that data and moved it into what we call a fog layer, basically a cloud within our manufacturing environment on site. Using things like our kinetic IoT software and application dynamics, which does application performance management, we were then able to distinguish which information we actually needed and was material to derive better quality versus maybe 90% of or 99% of the information that we collected that was not really necessary. So that was we used that fog layer to really drive differentiation in terms of information. With the relevant information that we needed, we moved that data up to our connected quality cloud, where we use mathematical models and artificial intelligence to be able to ascertain changes that we needed to make in our manufacturing process to derive not discrete quality improvements, but system-wide quality improvements. When we ascertained the changes that we needed to make, we pushed those changes to the AWS cloud, which was used to control that network layer within the factory. And once that information was pushed, those changes were then actually sent down back to the factory floor, down to those pieces of individual equipment that was running our manufacturing process. So you can see how technology, data, and the underlying digital architecture has actually helped us totally fundamentally change the way we look at quality. And we're seeing results of it. From the pilot implementation that we have actually out in one of our factories in Asia, we've seen a 4 times reduction in the amount of defects that we have coming out. We've also seen a 3% reduction in the factory cycle time and a 3% reduction in terms of aging work in progress. What does that mean? Better quality products for all of you, but also a significant improvement of our supply chain as well. So again, another great example of the power of digital architecture and digitization. But innovation is not only happening within the realms of Cisco, we also recognize it has to happen everywhere, in your environments, in our partner environments. And so we're also looking to how ways and means that we can take that and expand on that even further. One of the latest initiatives that we have is really focusing on customer experience. Because one of the things we recognize is that many of you have actually procured a lot of technology from us. But the real challenge is, how are you truly realizing the potential of what you've bought? So the new customer experience group within Cisco is really focused on engaging with you, our customers, so that you can take advantage of the technologies and capabilities that you've really bought from us. Understanding what you have, what you're using, more importantly, what are you not using, and helping you take full advantage of those capabilities. Through that, we hope we can continue to deliver even more value to you. Next, as we fundamentally change the way we deliver innovation to deliver more programmability to our platforms, we also opened up a whole new ecosystem called DevNet, a developer network, where we enable our partners to better support all of you, our customers, to develop solutions and capabilities specific to your industry needs, to take advantage of the speed and agility of the technology that you've bought. Today, we have over 570,000 developers within the DevNet community, and I would encourage all of you to take an opportunity to visit the DevNet zone. Check out the amazing race, test your API knowledge, or take a workshop, get a first-hand experience of how you can actually start to drive programmability into the network to meet your specific industry needs. We're also recognizing that this new world of digitization, no single organization has all the answers. We need to live in a world of co-innovation. To that end, we've actually globally rolled out 14 co-innovation centers. These are facilities where our customers, our partners, and Cisco come together to solve business challenges that you bring to us, real-world challenges that you're seeking ways and means that digital technologies can help you address. I mentioned there are 14 of them globally, but we actually have 4 of them right here within the Asia-Pacific Japan region. 2 in Australia, 1 in Perth, and 1 in Sydney, 1 in Tokyo, and most recently, 1 in Singapore as well. We also recognize that as the world becomes more and more digital, skills development is something really critical. I'm sure many of you are struggling with just getting the right capability and caliber of a workforce to enable you, to help you with your digital transformation. This is something that we've done for over 20 years through our Cisco Network Academy. In fact, over that 20-year period, we've trained over 9 million students across 180 countries. And most recently, just last year, within the Asia-Pacific region, we trained another 500,000 students as well. So it's not only about technology innovation, it's about helping you with digital architecture, enabling an ecosystem to better support you with innovation, but also providing you a workforce that is enabled to support where you're heading in terms of your digital journey. So has it paid off for us? The short answer is yes. If you look at what has happened over the last 4 years, as a business, we've definitely gone back to growth. The market has recognized the business model transformation that we're making and the success that we're having, and that's translated into a significant amount of stock appreciation. You saw from what I shared earlier that our innovation engine is on fire. We're innovating and we're delivering innovations to you faster than we've ever done. We've also been recognized as even a more valuable brand. In fact, our brand value has gone up 8%, making us the 5th most valuable brand in the world. But beyond all the business benefits, it's also had organizational benefits to us. We were recognized as the 8th best place to work by the Great Place to Work Institute. And in fact, I just attended an event last week in the US where we were voted number 6, which is a big change. A few years ago, we were in the 90s. It shows you how the innovation and the digital platforms and architectures that we've put in place have truly transformed our culture and our mindsets and made us a very attractive workforce. And business and employees should not also be done at the sacrifice of the environment. By doing what we've done with our digital capability, we've also been recognized as the 2nd most sustainable company in the world by Barron's as well. So, in short, digital transformation is truly paying off for us. And I'm very confident it can pay off for you too. So what's next? We're looking forward to doing just what we've done with you for over 2 to 3 decades, partnering with you, taking advantage of the art of the possible in terms of technology, helping together, through the two of us, building a future together. Thank you for joining us all today. I would encourage you to visit the World of Solutions outside and also take advantage of all the great offerings that we have out this week. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Irving, for taking us through how we can all be architects of the future and the possible. Together, we're transforming entire organizations, cities, and communities in the era of discontinuity, operating in a constant state of flux and change. I believe we are the bridge to the possible. We are the bridge to change. So at Cisco Live Melbourne, we want to create awareness of our corporate social responsibility efforts and help our customers and partners better understand what we're doing to accelerate global problem solving. So we've brought here 3 past winners of our global problem solvers on site. These annual prizes recognize students or recent graduates who've developed a technology solution with a social or environmental purpose. So please visit them in the community programs area outside the World of Solutions and vote. I'll announce the winner in this Friday's keynote, and they'll be awarded an additional $20,000 prize. I'd also urge you to be the bridge between hope and possibility. Now open your hearts to the St. Kilda Mums and Orange Sky. St. Kilda Mums, their mission is to rehome pre-loved children's items to families in need while saving the Earth's precious resources. So please support them with your ideas, your time, and most of all, your generosity. Tomorrow, Scott Harrell is going to be here delivering the technology keynote. He's going to highlight some of our latest innovations. It's a session you won't want to miss. So I want to thank you and those who are watching the broadcast for joining us at Cisco Live Melbourne. I know it's going to be an exciting week. But before I conclude the session today, I'd urge you to visit our World of Solutions. It's where imagination meets possibility. Our team of 750 people have been on site for 4 days and 19 hours building this all for you. So thank you for joining us at Cisco Live Melbourne, and let's see what they created.